So, like I told you before, we have startups presenting after each sessions, and now I'm calling Stan from Advocate Hypermedia, who's been selected to pitch in front of you. Advocate Hypermedia presenting an interactive video player. So, Stan, it's...
Hi, my name is Stan, I'm French and former consultant in media development for UNESCO Office for Iraq, and now running Advocate Hypermedia, a young startup specialized in rich media creation. So, rich media, it means that we create various cool things such as web documentaries, mini website, project simulation, etc. But I'm going to talk about a different thing. It's like one of our prototypes consisted in an interactive movie suggesting complementary information at the top of a video at specific seconds to enable people consulting notes, pictures, infographics, additional videos in a video, and so on. So in fact, we were keen on developing interactive features to enhance comprehension and foster mobilization. And then the 2012 election came to France. The candidates are not all here, sorry for fact checkers. But we got in touch with François Hollande's web team to present our project, and we thought that it was not really silly to use this kind of interactive movies for politics, especially nowadays when complex are more and more complicated concepts. So the challenge was to create a tool to make this kind of didactic videos. So the SmartCast was born, a multimedia player gathering information and action tools to foster comprehension and mobilization. So let's show you the baby. I'm sorry, I just have a static presentation because we just have slides. But in fact, yeah. Okay. In fact, we split it. Everything dealing with actions on the top and everything dealing with information below. And the most important thing is that, in fact, the SmartCast is for video what a footnote and hyperlinks are for text. It means that each time this person here in the screen is going to talk about a concept, a place, a person, we're going to have complementary content. It can be a video, it can be a note, it can be links, and in fact various kind of videos to enable people to know more. Because when I watch a politician and he's talking about the G20, I don't know what is the G20. So I want to know more about it. So I want to have a definition. I want to have complementary content and then come back to my video. So, in fact, the SmartCast can be embedded quite everywhere. I choose the purple lady just for you. So it can be used for politics, but even more, and it can be even more interesting for news because you can tell whatever you want. And so it can be embedded into your websites, and then you can have additional videos, and then you can come back to your video, or you can have interactive notes. Here I'm talking about Habib Bourguiba. I don't know who is he. And if we're talking about Tunisia, it's a good thing to know who Habib Bourguiba is. And after that, I might look for other content, so you can find it in lists and so on. But in terms of ergonomics, it's going to evolve slowly. But the most important thing, and we saw it during the French presidential campaign, is that this kind of interactive movies can be embedded into several social media, but especially Facebook. So here you can see it in the timeline, and I must say that something in between 60% and 80% of the traffic was coming from Facebook, for a very simple reason, is that many people don't want to go into a candidate's website. But here in Facebook, it's the candidate's content that's coming to people. and it changes totally everything. So, if it's been used for politics, it might be even more interesting for journalism, for reports, debates, interviews, everything. I'm sure you already have more ideas than me. But last but not least, you'll have the opportunity to select the kind of actions to suggest, because sometimes this kind of video might be a kind of dead end. And just ask you a question, is like, what I want to do after this video. It can be sharing, okay. It can be embedding, okay. But it can be also filling a form, subscription, polls, quiz, and something like that. So, in fact, it's a very inclusive technology. You understood it. In fact, we are paving the way to connected TV. But both standards and equipment are not mature yet. But in fact, technology is not so important. The human aspect is important for viewers, but also for journalists and editors, and we need to adapt ourselves to this new way of communicating. In fact, it's a bit more work for you, but explaining is a bit more work, and our job is just to make a very easy to handle tool to save as many time as possible, and it's going to be done within July. And so the Smartcast, the first version, the 1.0 version, is going to be released on July and include the following features. One last thing. For 2 years, we've tried to push for this new way of communicating, explaining things and allowing people to understand especially complex issues. Ladies and gentlemen, today our world is going to be more and more and more complex, and we'll have to play an active role in explaining news, and you have a key role to play in this comprehension of the word. So that's why we came here to show you our baby, and I hope you're gonna adopt it very soon in July. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stan. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but as I told you, it's about pitching very briefly, and it's also a very interesting exercise for startups. So now I'll call Onya from Scraper Wiki, which is a rather, it's not that small startup, but as their product and activity is very interesting, we selected them for this competition. So Onya, it's your turn.
Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Onya Maguire at Scraper Wiki. I decided I was thinking of speaking in French, but my English is just slightly better than my French is. I'm Dutch, in fact.
It's a platform for liberating public data, predominantly public data. We do ingest private data, but it's predominantly public. We're building a worldwide community of data scientists because we believe that this task is too great for any one organization. Oops, I need my magic button. Merci.
He's done it.
Which way do I go? Oh, here we go. Voila. We opened our place in 2010 with funding from Channel 4, the media organization. In 2011, we received funding from the Knight Foundation, a News Challenge Award, and we're using that money to improve the functionality for journalists and also to run a series of journalism data camps across the United States. We've got a few $100,000 to make a footprint. We recently also received some venture capital finance from a European-backed venture capital finance organization, which is absolutely wonderful. So what do we do for the media sector? Well, we deliver data feeds to allow you to, or hopefully help you, to create data stories, to create cross-platform web applications, and also to drive visualizations. Here's some examples of the projects that we've worked on. And I'm just going to go through each one in just a quick overview. In 2011, a well-known investigative reporter called James Ball ran a story in The Guardian in 2011, and it was all about how lobbying groups influence decisions in Parliament by sponsoring all-party groups. We created the data for him by scraping some of the published data. And he was able to look at that data over the year, and he republished the story again this year. And you can see there was an increase of 200 million, but you can drive down and look through all of the data. Second example, this was to support UK televised debate that was run last year by the award-winning Channel 4 Dispatches reporting team. They were looking at how the UK could reduce its national debt, and one way to do that was to try and get rid of some of the national assets. We created a sophisticated visualization that allowed the viewer to go and drill down into all the national assets to see line by line item, all the way down to the cost of a tornado. And in turn, we linked that visualization to the original PDF, which meant that we could reveal the provenance of the data. The third example is by a wonderful data journalist in the UK, an academic. He runs a website. His name is Paul Bradshaw. And as you can imagine, in the UK at the moment, Olympic data is fairly much prevalent in the newspapers. So Paul decided to scrape, using Scraper Wiki, some of the data from the Olympics, which is a bit naughty, really. And he scraped the data, and we decided to show all the torchbearers and where they are across the UK. And he kind of created a local story here, and you could drill down into the data, see the demographics of the people. So, what can we do for you? Well, you can use our free platform to liberate data. All your data scientists can go off and do it. You can upgrade to a premium account to keep your data private until such time or embargo the story. Or finally, you can come to us and we can try and support you and help you to get the data. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anya. So we are on with these two pitches. I remind you that you can vote for the startups you like the most using the iPhone application of the News World Summit. You can find in the App Store. You just have to look for the Amiando application and then search for News 2012 conference. So now I invite you to join the Salle des Arcades at the back of the conference room, where you will have lunch and see another artistic performance. I hope you've enjoyed the one of this morning, and this is going to be something of the same kind, and this is also something that allows us to say that news is not your typical conference, as you've noticed. So bon appétit, and I ask you to come back at 1:20 for the next session.